Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alisa Slazinska, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, BACP. Welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop Webinar Series. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. On behalf of our Commissioner, Rosa Escarino, I want to inform you that business licenses can be processed online where applicable by visiting chicagobusinessdirect.org. And any websites and emails that I mention, I will post in the chat so you'll be able to reference them there. If you are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you want to learn about the program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. To help guide your business and employees during Chicago's reopening process, please visit chicago.gov/reopening. Also, BACP and the City of Chicago's Office of Emergency Management and Communications created Shy Biz Emergency Alerts. You can opt in to receive targeted emergency alerts for the business community. If you are interested, please visit chicago.gov/ShyBizAlerts. And we encourage attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And today's webinar will be how to open a concession at OHARE and Midway International Airport. It will be presented by the Chicago Department of Aviation, the Concessions Department, and Unison Retail Management. Welcome.
Thank you, Elisa, for that introduction. Today, we are going to talk about how to open a concession at OHARE and Midway International Airports. Thank you so much for joining us today, for taking the time out to learn more about doing business with the City of Chicago Department of Aviation. My name is Yolanda Woodruff, and we will be presenting the agenda topics of airline operations, OHARE Concessions Program, OHARE 21 Expansion, Midway Concessions Program, a process to open and operate a concession, elements of a concession proposal, as well as resources that are valuable to you when considering operating at an airport. Today, our welcome address will be given by Castalia Cerna, Deputy Commissioner of Concessions and Customer Service. Welcome.
Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I am Castalia Cerna, Deputy Commissioner for Concessions, Customer Service, and Marketing for both OHARE and Midway International Airports. On behalf of Mayor Lightfoot, Commissioner Reed, and the entire team at the Chicago Department of Aviation, I'm excited to welcome you this afternoon to our Concessions 101 workshop, Doing Business at the Airport. The CDA and our concessionaire partners have had such a tremendous partnership over the years, and that relationship will be even more instrumental in the months and years ahead as travel trends up in the right direction in Chicago's airports. We remain confident with the road ahead of us. It goes without saying that this pandemic has had a significant impact on the overall aviation industry, just as it has on so many things that affect our day-to-day lives. We have worked hard and in coordination with our airport and public health partners to keep our airports operational and safe for everyone. And it's an ongoing process. Passenger expectations are changing as a result of the pandemic, and we've been listening and adapting. We have increased our customer service throughout the terminals to help encourage social distancing, to provide face coverings to travelers who need them, and to make sure we're doing our part to address concerns of anxious travelers and employees alike. I also want to provide a bit of reassurance. This is not the first time the aviation industry has experienced a major disruption. Far from it, in fact. A system shock seems to occur once a decade or so, and every time the industry has bounced back and continued its growth trajectory. Not only that, but as air travel comes back, large hubs like Chicago tend to recover even faster. We have history on our side. And because of that, our landmark capital projects are moving forward in the right direction. From Mayor Lightfoot to us, we understand that our airports are economic engines and that we must invest in them, and those investments are catalysts for jobs and opportunities that touch every one of Chicago's 77 neighborhoods. OHARE 21's terminal redevelopment plan will greatly enhance the first impression of millions of travelers visiting our great city. We will continue to work diligently towards the future, and that future is bright in part because of the work you do by supporting our entire concessions community and keeping them operating during these unprecedented times. This will lead to the continued health of the Chicago's airport system moving forward beyond COVID-19. I want to let my team shine now, so I'm going to pass the torch over to them. You'll be hearing from our concessions team, starting with Glenn Renewski, Assistant Commissioner, and our concessions team, who diligently run the day-to-day concessions operations. Russell Johnson, Horatio Watson, Drew Holmick, and Mark Wright. They've put together an amazing workshop, so thank you for joining us today. Again, we appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to hearing from you. And now I'll turn it over to Glenn.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. So we thought, as Castalia said, we're going to give you the entire concessions team is going to present to you how to open up a business at OHARE and Midway. And it's really important, and this slide depicts the air traffic over the entire world. And as you can see, the traffic flow over North America, we're probably the busiest airspace in the country. And even as we emerge from this COVID environment, we have a lot of things planned for the future. And one of them is well, they're all RFP oriented. That's why you're here. But we did release an RFP back in July, and the deadline is going to be October 2nd for that. But more importantly, we're going to be releasing RFPs at the end of this year or at the beginning of 2021. We're still going ahead with ORD 21, the capital program. This fall, we're going to commission our 6th runway. So with that, we'll be able to take in over $100 million in payments. And then now we're moving into the ORD 21, which is our TAP program, which is the renovation of all of our terminals. So with the renovation of new terminals comes concessions. So this is very timely. So please ask questions. A couple things. There's multiple resources that we have. And if you're thinking about getting ACDBE certified, now is the time to do it. And then at the end, you'll see we'll have a couple slides on resources. But one of the key things is When we announce an RFP, the first public announcement goes out over our website, so you can get that on our web alert. If you sign up at flychicago.com, and at the bottom of the landing page, you'll be able to just input your email, and then you'll get all the web alerts. Usually that's our first mechanism to notify the public that an RFP is coming out. And we plan on having a robust 21 year with many RFPs. And so with that, I am going to hand it off to Horatio Watson, who's going to talk about airline operations.
Thank you, Glenn, and good afternoon, everyone. Today I will be talking about a brief overview of airline operations. OHARE is served by nearly 50 of the world's leading airlines and is a major intra-alliance connecting gateway, including United Airlines and their Star Alliance partners, American Airlines with One World partners, and Delta Airlines, the Sky Team. OHARE has multiple other airline carriers as well, as you can see below. Here's a fun fact for you. OHARE is a dual hub for United and American Airlines. In 2019, there were over 105 million passengers that traveled through OHARE and Midway airports. Of that, approximately 84 million passengers traveled from or through OHARE. 2019 was a record-setting year for OHARE Airport, achieving the most operations in the U.S. with over 919,704 takeoffs and landings. That same year, Midway Airport had over 20 million passengers and over 232,000 takeoffs and landings. OHARE and Midway International Airports provide direct and nonstop service to 275 cities around the world. Over 50% of OHARE's passengers have connecting flights and never leave the terminals. What a captive audience. Here are a couple of fun facts for you today. OHARE is the only U.S. airport that has flights to 6 continents. OHARE is the most connected airport in the U.S. and second in the world. Here's an overall view of the airport. OHARE has 195 active gates. Beginning in the upper left, we have Terminal 1, Terminal 2 to the lower left, Terminal 3 in the center there, and Terminal 5 to the far lower right. Let's look at each terminal in detail. Beginning with Terminal 1. Terminal 1 has 2 concourses, Concourse C to the upper and Concourse B to the lower. There are 14.6 million enplanements in Terminal 1 alone. Major carriers are Lufthansa and United Airlines. Continuing with Terminal 2. Terminal 2 has 2 concourses, E and F. For Terminal 2, there are 6.7 million enplanements. Major carriers are Air Canada, Delta, and once again, United Airlines. Continuing with Terminal 3, Terminal 3 has 4 concourses. From the right to the left, we have Concourse G, Concourse H, K, and L concourse to the far left, which has 2 separate concourses. Terminal 3 has 17.4 million enplanements. Major carriers include Air Alaska, American Airlines, Iberia, Japan Airlines, and Spirit Airlines. Lastly, Terminal 5. Terminal 5 has 1 concourse, Concourse M. It has a variety of international carriers flying to 6 of the 7 continents around the world. There are 3.4 million enplanements, with several major carriers, including Aer Lingus, Alitalia, Emirates, Etihad, Finnair, and Korean Air. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Mark Wright, who would like to talk to you about OHARE's Airport Concessions program.
Thank you. Thank you, Horatio. Good afternoon, everyone. Airport concessions at our OHARE Midway locations are broken down into 6 categories. These categories include food and beverage, specialty retail, news and gifts, services, duty-free, and advertising. The food and beverage category entails branded and non-branded entities such as Berghoff Cafe and Cubs Bar and Grill, and also includes airport, local, and national brands such as Garrett Popcorn, McDonald's, and Dunkin' Donuts. Passengers have the option to sit down and experience full-service dining at locations such as Publican Tavern and Wicker Park Sushi, or they have the option for a faster, more casual dining or bar experience at Chili's or Wolfgang Puff. There are also many options for grab-and-go items and snack options, all conveniently located throughout the airport. The specialty retail category entails brands and concepts such as Brookstone for electronics, Brooks Brothers for apparel, and Barbara's Books for your reading enjoyment. The news and gift category includes entities such as Hudson News for souvenirs, which are located conveniently in each of our 4 terminals. The services category includes, but not limited to, automated retail, ATMs, spa locations, and foreign currency exchange. The duty-free category entails the duty-free store, which passengers may purchase items such as perfumes, jewelry, and confections. And the last category is the advertising category, which entails advertising within the airport through Clear Channel advertising and outdoor advertising through JCDecaux. This next slide represents terminals 1, 2, and 3, and where each concession is located in each terminal. To the right is Terminal 1, as Horatio said, major air carrier United Airlines with concourses B and C. The center section is Terminal 2, major air carrier United as well, with concourses E and F, and then to the left is Terminal 3, major air carrier American Airlines with concourses G, H, K, L, and L Stinger. One of the first things you may notice is the number of national brands such as McDonald's and Starbucks that, as you see, are located in almost every terminal. If you take a look at the color-coded legend above in the top left-hand corner, you can gauge where each concession by category is located in the terminal by using its color coding. This is Terminal 5, which was previously our international terminal, but has since added domestic flights, so we removed the designation of international from the name. On the right above, it shows the arrival level concessions, and on the left and bottom is the departure level concessions. There is also the same color-coded legend at the top right-hand corner, which you can gauge where each concession by category is located. This next slide is a concessions performance breakdown by category for OHARE. It lists the total number of stores per category, the total amount of square footage, and sales for 2019. If you divide the total amount of sales, and in this case we use food and beverage as an example, of 371,558,000 by the total amount of square feet, which is 127,943, you can calculate the amount of sales per square foot, which is $2,904. This next slide is similar to the previous slide, except this breakdown shows the concessions performance by terminal instead of by category. As you can see, Terminal 3, with total sales of over $208 million, led all airport terminals in terms of total sales. Next, I would like to introduce Russell Johnson, who will present on OHARE 21.
Thank you, Mark. So I will start with what made OHARE 21 possible, and that was the OHARE Modernization Program, or OMP, which is nearing completion with the reconfiguration of Chicago O'Hare's airfields, which will bring to 6 parallel runways with 3 runways on either side of O'Hare Airport's terminals. OHARE 21 is the biggest expansion in O'Hare's 60-year history, constantly evolving with more gates, providing more amenities, more travel options in order to streamline and enhance passenger experience from curb to gate. We are expanding by increasing gate capacity from 195 to 220, and increasing airline competition. We are reducing security wait times with new security screening checkpoints and the latest screening technology. We are improving screening and sorting of passenger baggage and reducing airfield congestion and ground delays. OHARE 21 actually started with the building of the L Stinger. If you look on the top left-hand part of the screen, the small little terminal at the end, that's the L Stinger, but it led to what we currently have in Terminal 5. Terminal 5 expansion broke ground in March of 2019. It's a $1.2 million investment with approximately 350,000 square feet of Terminal 5 expansion. It will provide 25% more gate capacity with 10 additional gates, renovate more than 750,000 square feet of existing building space, add 70% more airline lounge space, add 75% more concession and passenger amenities with elevated dining and shopping experiences, with addition of approximately 15 more concessions. We will reconfigure and add security checkpoints to improve immigration and customs screening, replace terminal baggage handling systems, improve completion of new gates. Delta Airlines will relocate from Terminal 2 to Terminal 5 where it exists currently. Delta's move in Terminal 2 to Terminal 5 will allow improvements to Terminal 2 and consolidate the gate usage for United and American Airlines. Later phases of this project will include expansion of parking garages, improved roadway capacity, and enhanced curb capabilities. In the conceptual drawing you see in front of you, the east expansion of OHARE's new T5 and its 10 new gates are represented. The west end of the Terminal 5, not shown, will house the refurbished home of Delta Airlines. While we're completing the Terminal 5 expansion, the next phases of OHARE or ORD 21 will start to take place. That's with Satellite 1, Satellite 2, and of course our global terminal. Two new satellite terminals, concourses, S1 and S2, will provide larger concourse, nearly double the width of the normal terminal capacity. New flexible gates to accommodate narrow and wide body planes. The new satellites incorporate natural daylight to enhance the passenger experience. The concourse incorporates a variety of spaces which will optimize domestic and international blended passenger experience with operational efficiency. Not only will these bright concourses add gate capacity and passenger amenities, they will enable the global terminal project to move forward. Will be accessible via underground tunnels. OHARE will not lose any gate capacity while T2 is being rebuilt with the new global terminal. At 2.2 million square feet, the new OHARE global terminal will be one of the largest, most cutting-edge terminals in the nation. It will more than double the space of today's Terminal 2. OHARE's global terminal, valued at $2.2 billion, will build a global terminal. At no time during the gates will be, At no time during the process will gate capacity be reduced. The new satellite concourses will provide enough gate capacity to shift activity from existing Terminal 2 to satellites, enable OHARE's global terminal to be constructed. The global terminal will integrate domestic and international operations with additional gates, more space for concessions, lounges, and public amenities, state-of-the-art baggage claims, and expanded immigration and customs facilities. To summarize, Terminal 5 will get 10 new gates and 12,000 square feet of additional concession space. Targeted for completion in 2022. Satellite 2, which will be the next to open, will get additional gates and 30,000 square feet of terminal space, scheduled to open in 2023. Satellite 1 will get additional gates and 30,000 square feet of terminal space, scheduled to open in 2024. And of course, our global terminal will get 75,000 square feet of terminal space and new gates, scheduled to open in 2028. At this point, I'll turn it over to Drew Homick with a Midway introduction.
Thank you very much, Russell. My name is Drew Holman, and I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Midway Airport, about the operations and the concessions redevelopment program that's taking place over on the south side. To start off with, as an overview, Midway Airport has 6 main carriers that are listed on the screen. 5 of those are operating currently. Porter Airlines is the only one that is not operating. We're hoping that they will come back to the airport here later on this year. Out of those, the major airlines that we do have operating, Southwest is the largest airline with over 93% of the market share. And in 2019, Midway Airport had over 20 million passengers come through the airport. Right here, similar to what we saw a little bit earlier for OHARE, we've got the concessions breakdown of performance by category. For food and beverage, we have about 75% of the annual sales in 2019 came from our F&B units. And then combined for news and gifts and specialty retail, about 24% of the sales coming out of our concessions came from those two, and then about 1% from services. And the total sales for 2019 was just over $117 million. And we want to talk a little bit about the Midway Airport Concessions Program. Midway Airport right now is amidst a concessions redevelopment, and Midway Partnership, MP, is the joint venture that was selected as a developer and operator for Midway's concession program following an RFP process that began in the fall of 2015 and was approved by City Council in 2017. And in May 2017, Midway began a $75 million modernization program that expanded with Midway's concessions program, which include food and beverage, news and gifts, specialty retail, personal services, and other amenities. The concession space is planned to increase from 26,000 square feet to about 70,000 square feet, and to also increase the number of stores from 47 units to over 70. Midway Partnership's development includes bringing in local partners and brands, which resulted in the nation's highest ACDBE participation at 51% at the end of 2019, and it continues to grow. And as part of Midway Partnership's contract, all partners and subtenants have been identified up to this point. What this next slide shows are the 27 new locations that have been built since 2017. We have 16 local units, and over on Concourse A, we have 15 new units that have been built, including a brand new food court, so 16,000 square food court, including 6 local food and beverage and retail units that are operating. And then over on Concourse B, we have 9 new units that are open. And then in the Central Market, we actually have the latest 3 units that were built and ready to open up as of March, and we're just waiting to open up those new units in the Central Market. And then right now, these are some of the opportunities with Midway Partnership, once again, who is the master concessionaire at Midway. I would highly recommend anybody who is interested in partnering on both the design and construction, suppliers, or services to visit midwaypartnership.com. From there, you can get in contact with Midway Partnership, and this is an opportunity to talk with them to see what opportunities are still available. And up until December 2019, Midway Partnership has participated in or has hosted over 100 local job fairs and outreach hiring events. So we will continue that once things return to normal. But in the meantime, highly recommend visiting midwaypartnership.com to see if there's any opportunities for you to partner with the master concessionaire. And at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Russell Johnson to talk about the process for operating a concession at an airport.
Thanks, Drew. So what is the process for operating concessions at Chicago or Midway O'Hare airports? So there are many, many ways to operate concession, but 3 ways stand out more than others. One is as a single operator. That's where the company yourself could operate a lease with CDA to run a concession in either Midway or O'Hare airports. The second most popular type is a joint venture, where several companies, 2 or more, get together to do the same thing, operate a lease as a concession from CDA at either Midway or O'Hare airport. The third part is where a larger company would sign a lease with CDA and then sublease that location out to a local brand or for business services or food that they feel may be a better mix or fit for that particular location. What type of agreements are necessary? So once a lease is signed, there are several types that stand out as the most popular. The first kind is a franchise agreement. So that's when a national brand gets the lease and decides to open up a McDonald's or Dunkin' or some other national or international chain. A license agreement is where a vendor operator would license a local or national brand and open up a concept that is local, like a Harry Carey or Publishing. Regional or local companies can also operate a concession on their own, like Garrett's or Nelson Clark does today. Then we can also have what's called an airport brand, which are smaller companies that develop a generic brand of their own making that has a Chicago flavor or style, like Ice Bar or Chicago Cubs Bar and Grill. So what are the steps to get started? First, CDA has to identify what locations are available and ready to be transformed into a new food, beverage, or service location. After that is determined, CDA will issue an RFP or request for proposal. Requests for proposal are generally on the street or biddable for about 90 days. The best way to keep up with CDA's RFPs is to sign up for CDA web alerts, which will be talked about more later in this presentation. After the CDA is on the street, respondents must prepare and submit bid proposals. It is suggested that a bidder seek professional assistance with RFP responses. Questions can be very specific and require detailed responses on legal matters, financial matters, and business matters where professional help should be sought. Once all of the RFP bids are received and opened, CDA will pick a committee to evaluate responses and select concession heirs. Sorry about that. Once concession heirs are chosen, CDA now must approach City Council with that particular concessionaire for that location or multiple locations with the reasons why this business should be given an opportunity to participate in concessions at either Midway or OHARE Airport. This process can have several steps because some locations may have questions from the council, which may need to go to committee and come back for approval. Once that city approval is done, now we're ready for the concessionaire to step up. The concessionaire now must submit construction plans for a review and approval. Construction plans can require a 30, 60, 90, and 100% drawing submissions to be approved and reviewed by CDA staff. All applicable permits must be submitted and approved during the construction review process. Once construction is complete and all staff are hired and trained, now we are ready to open an airport concession. The process for RFPs to concession to open takes from 12 to 18 months or maybe a little bit longer. Okay, what do we look for in concessions program here at CDA? Well, for me, this section is the job description for my fellow project administrators and myself. Our job is to inspect what CDA expects. And the first thing we expect is to optimize revenue of airports and local economies. The second thing we would like to expect is to maximize ACDBE participation. ACDBE stands for Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. This is an FAA category that allows smaller businesses to compete in the arena with national players. Stay tuned for more information about ACDBE later in this presentation. We look for Chicago. CDA promotes Chicago. We look to seek local brands are well represented in Chicago's airports. We're all about the highest quality products and services, the highest quality design and presentation of the concession location. Chicago's airports are green airports, and we incorporate sustainability in all aspects of airport operations, including concessions. We're looking for a variety of offerings. Chicago's 50-plus neighborhoods and international communities that fly through our airports are varied, and we look for something to reach everybody's needs. Chicago, as mentioned earlier, is a hub for travelers through this country and other countries. 50+% of people who enter Chicago through OHARE Airport never leave the airport, which means Chicago's OHARE Airport is Chicago for them. It's the first and last impression they'll have of the city. And we are very focus on making sure the city is well represented in our airports. And lastly, everyone at CDA is focused on customer service. That passenger experience is our utmost priority, and we expect our concessionaires to have the same value, along with fair pricing and value to our customers. Let me summarize. For hours of operation, generally the airport can be a 24-hour business. Most concessions work from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. This can mean upward of 3 shifts for staffing. But because of COVID, hours have been adjusted and will adjust based on flight demand. All employees at Chicago Airport have to pass our security and badging process. This may include passing customs and border patrol standards. Reality check. It costs money to work at Chicago Airport. Staff needs to be prepared for the commute and or traveling to and from cost. To arrive on time to work their scheduled days. Merchandise delivery must be scheduled. Delivery generally takes place between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Because there is limited storage for concessions in the airport and your storage location may not be located in the terminal where you operate, tenants may be advised to schedule deliveries and for supplies and goods multiple times a week. Now we'll bring Yolanda Woodruff on to discuss more.
Thank you so much, Russell, for going through those steps and exactly what it takes to operate a concession at an airport. So Russell spoke about that request for proposal. What exactly is that? I'm sure you're asking. And what are the elements? Well, here you'll see that listing of the elements that are required to be included when you submit your proposal. Of course, there's a cover letter or a transmittal letter that describes exactly what it is that you are bidding or proposing. There is also a section where you have to tell your story. And what that entails is your experience and your qualifications for being able to operate that proposed concession at an airport. Now that you have talked about who you are and what you can offer, the method of management and operations is also something that is included in that proposal. So the proposals are evaluated by an evaluation committee, and they are looking at the methods of management and operation that you will be using to conduct your business at an airport. So you have to be very specific about your management style, about who you will bring on as management, and exactly how you will operate at the airport. Russell also mentioned that the hours of operation could be from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m., which requires excessive or a lot of staff. I don't want to say excessive, but a lot. If you're going to bring on 3 shifts, and then you'll have to have personnel to coordinate deliveries and things of that nature. So these will be evaluated in your proposal. The concessions development proposals would include a store concept and design, compensation to the city, projected sales, net income and cash flow pro formas, as well as capital investment and financial planning. Russell also spoke about the proposal needing to be completed, some portions needing to be completed by professional personnel. And because you will have to have a store concept and design, you will have to hire an architect to be able to do those drawings that you will submit with your proposal. You may have to have an accountant that comes on board to actually help you with how you are going to devise your compensation plan as well as your other financial plans. So that will cost you money as well. So submitting a proposal will be an expensive venture. Proposals can be expensive. Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Participation Plan is also an element that will be evaluated in the proposal. The proposal submittal, if you do not have an Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Participation Plan, will be marked as non-responsive. If the proposal has a goal for ACDBE participation, that goal must be shown through the participation plan at the time of submittal. Professional references are also included. Exceptions, exactly what does that mean? Exceptions are actually in the agreement, the lease agreement, which is a part of the proposal. If there are some sections in which you are not able to comply with, or some obligations or requirements that you have an issue with, you can actually submit your exceptions along with your proposal. The executed proposal affidavit, which is included in the proposal, along with other documents and forms that will be used throughout the proposal evaluation process, are also an element of a proposal. Of course, your business information statement should actually once again talk about your experience and your qualifications. And your financial statements, because the airport wants to be sure that you have the wherewithal to be able to participate in a concessions program. So when you're talking about your experience, you have to be sure that you talk about the years of experience that you have in the area of business that you are proposing on. So there are minimum qualifications that are explained in the request for proposal, and those minimum qualifications is usually around 3 years to have operated within that proposed business. You have to have a minimum level of sales. Usually it's over a 3-year average. That's also spelled out within the proposal. And once again, that financial capability, that's where those financial statements come in, because you have to be able to operate in a high volume, high capacity environment that will take a heavy capital investment. So you have to have that financial capability spelled out in your proposal. And once again, here's that ACDBE participation plan that must be included at the time of submittal of the proposal. Now, compensation to the city. What does that look like? It includes base rent. It includes a license fee, which is the greater of the minimum annual guarantee fee or the percentage fee. You have your marketing fee, as well as a central distribution fee that will be determined in the RFP. So the RFP will most likely give you a range for your minimum annual guarantee fee. It will give you the amount of your central distribution fee, as well as your marketing fee, and that percentage fee will run in a range as well. Now, the base rent is something that is stated in the RFP. Right now, the current market value is about $50 per square foot, but that will escalate at 3% annually. So if you calculate that for your next year's base rent, it will be $51.50, I believe, for the next year. So that is how that annual escalation is calculated. It is calculated against the dollar per square foot. And once again, it states it here that that license fee, those licensing fees, will be stated as a range in the RFP. So the terms. How long will you actually be able to regroup or get your return on your investment for opening a concession at the airport. Now, it all depends on the type of concession that you are operating, and the term is really based on just that. When will you be able to recoup your investment in building out that particular space? So the terms run for food and beverage between 7 to 10 years, fast food, casual, quick serve, 7 to 10 years as well. And that is because the cost of build out for those particular locations can be quite hefty, and this will give you a long enough term so that you can amortize those costs over the length of your lease. So those items or those concept types that are a little less costly are coffee, snack, bars, candy, or confections. So those terms are fewer in years simply because it's a lesser cost to build out. And the rents, the percent rents, are listed in a range. So those are the ranges that you have to be cognizant of when you are proposing exactly the amounts that you are willing to pay for operating a concession at the airport. Here you see specialty retail, news and gifts, duty-free, services, and automated retail. These terms are lower because the cost of build-out is lower. Also, you'll see here that the percent rents are also set in a range according to the concession concept type. Now, we talked about the greater of the minimum guarantee fee and percent rent. Here's an example. The concessionaire proposes to pay the greater of $100,000 in minimum annual guarantee fees or 15% of sales. If annual sales are at $800,000, the calculation of percent rent is at $120,000. The concessionaire then pays the total of the $120,000 because it is the greater of the $100,000 minimum annual guarantee fee or percentage rent. In the second example, we see here, if the annual sales only reach $500,000, multiplied by the 15% percentage rent, it only equals $75,000, which is less than the minimum annual guarantee of $100,000. Therefore, the concessionaire must pay the $100,000, which is the greater of the percentage or the minimum annual guarantee fee. Other considerations when determining compensation that a concessionaire is willing to pay to the city is the term, once again, which is specified in the RFP. Also, Cook County leasehold taxes are levied against those concession locations at an airport. Utilities must be paid individually and metered individually. So that will add to any build-out costs if the meter is not currently existing. A security deposit of at least 6 months of minimum annual guarantee fee is also required. In the previous example, it listed the minimum annual guarantee fee at $100,000. Therefore, that security deposit at 6 months or 1/2 of that MAG will be $50,000, which is also submitted at the time of your approval of your lease agreement. Historically, concession build-out costs have been at about $1,000 per square foot. So when you are devising your capital investment plan, you have to make sure that you consider the cost of building out your concession space at the airport. Value pricing. Now, Russell mentioned customer service, he mentioned value pricing, and how we want our passengers to feel as if they are getting value for their money. And a lot of people may think that prices at the airport are higher than prices in downtown Chicago, when that is actually not true. Our prices here at the airport cannot exceed higher than the prices of downtown Chicago. In the case of Midway, we have allowed for an additional 10% markup, so it's cost plus 10. However, the prices are not so out of range from what you will find in downtown Chicago. And what we have is put in place personnel that actually go into the spaces and evaluate the pricing to ensure that value pricing requirements and standards are being met. Sustainability. Russell also mentioned our green concessions policy. And what that means is providing a customer-friendly environment and experience that is healthy for passengers as well as our employees and the overall environment. So what we've done is we've asked our concessionaires to exclude the use of styrofoam, plastics, and other items that are not compostable, and we've asked them to actually use those things that are compostable, that are green or friendly. We've asked for 100% recycled materials and things of that nature within the operation so that we can adhere to that green concessions policy. Now, that green concessions policy is also talked about in the Sustainable Airport Manual. And you can find that online if you have any questions about sustainability here at our airport. ACDBE, that Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Participation Plan, keeps popping up, doesn't it? Well, you're wondering, what is an ACDBE? It is a for-profit business that is owned 51% by a socially or economically disadvantaged individual. That individual has to manage the day-to-day operations and control the day-to-day operations with their own forces or resources, if you will. The ACDBE program is regulated by the FAA, and there are certain standards that we have to adhere to as an airport. Our airport provides those ACDBE goals in the request for proposals. So the goal will clearly be stated as to what we are expecting when you submit your proposal. Once again, the respondent must satisfy that goal or show good faith efforts as to why they cannot satisfy that goal. And if the proposal comes in without any ACDBE participation plan, the proposal will be deemed non-responsive. Now, there are several ways that you can fulfill that goal of ACDBE participation. It's either through direct ownership, which means that concession is 100% owned by that disadvantaged individual that has been certified as an ACDBE. You can come in as a joint venture partner with a larger company with a certain percentage of ownership in that company, or you can come in as a subcontract or a subtenant of that larger company, as well as provide goods and services to a larger company, which Drew spoke about when dealing with Midway Partnership. They are still seeking those who can provide goods and services. So keep in mind, those are the ways that you can participate as an ACDBE. If you have questions about how to become certified, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection actually hosts a class on how to become certified. There is also information at the websites that you see listed here, as well as the Illinois Unified Certification Directory. Some key information about submitting your proposal. We talked about signing up for the CDA web alerts. Please be sure to sign up. The proposals are typically due 90 days after posting, but this time may vary because there may be amendments to the proposal. So it's best that you sign up for the CDA web alerts so that you can be aware of any due date changes. Also, pre-proposal meetings will take place shortly after the RFP is released. So please be sure to attend those because they will provide you with some beneficial information about the concession spaces that you will be bidding on. I believe our last RFP release, we did something extremely novel for us where we sent videos along with the pre-proposal meeting so that people were able to visually experience the spaces without going on a physical tour. The RFP will also specify a deadline for submission of questions. So if you attend that pre-proposal meeting and you have some questions, there is a time for you to actually submit your questions, and those questions will be responded to in writing and will be provided in an addendum to the RFP. Next, we will have Mark Wright to tell us a little bit more about some of the resources that are valuable to you when thinking about opening a concession at the airport.
Thank you, Yolanda. Here's a list of resources in which you might find very helpful as it pertains to opening a concession at O'Hare or Midway Airport. The Chicago Department of Aviation link, www.flychicago.com, I believe is a must. The Chicago Department of Aviation link, and I'll say it again, www.flychicago.com is a must. It contains information about both O'Hare and Midway airports as it pertains to flights, terminal maps, and bids and contracts, just to name a few. As Yolanda stated, through the flychicago.com link, you can also sign up for web alerts, which will alert you via email on new information such as bid package advertisements, pre-bid conferences, upcoming workshops and symposiums, and O'Hare 21. This now ends the workshop, How to Open a Concession at O'Hare and Midway International Airport. On behalf of Commissioner Jamie Reed and the entire Department of Aviation, we would like to thank you all for attending. We also would like to thank our partners at BACP for hosting the workshop. They do a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for presenting today. A few questions did come in, so I'm just going to read them out loud. First question was, are there samples or documents available of the element of the proposal requirements?
Yes, you can go right now. We have a live RFP, and we'll make that available to site through you, Eliza, and whoever would like that, we can send that link. And that link has all the documents. It has the RFP, it has the Q&A, it has the answers to the Q&A, and so it's sort of the footprint of all previous and all forthcoming RFPs. So it's a good source of information, and that's the current RFP that's live. It went out in October, and as I said, the due date is October 2nd, and that's for automated retail, micro marts, automated delivery, and automated ordering.
Yeah. Someone asked, what is a typical minimum sales?
Well, it depends on the category. So, you know, the market walked us through the 6 categories that are prevalent in airports throughout the country. And it's food and beverage, news and gifts, retail services, and duty-free. So they all have a different capture rate. It's hard to say, but I would say our average probably in 2019 across all of those categories was north of $7.
Thank you. Next question is, are kiosk options available?
Yes, and it's all predicated on the RFP that comes out and how we structure it. So it could be an inline store, or there are kiosks that will be coming available, and you might see something to that nature in 2021.
I believe you guys mentioned this a couple times, but once again, what is the website to sign up for the RFP alerts?
So it's flychicago.com, and it'll take you to the landing page, and you'll go to the bottom of the landing page, and there'll be an area in which it says sign up for web alerts, and you just put in your email address.
Someone asked, I have a DBE and CDBE certification. What is the next step?
Can you repeat that? What certifications? ACDBE?
Yes, it's I have DBE and CDBE certification. What are the next steps to get my business in the airport?
Okay, so they should then at least try to get their ACDBE certification, and they can do that through the Department of Procurement Services for the City of Chicago. And it shouldn't be as lengthy because they are already certified, and they can they'll get guidance on their website of where to submit for ACDBE, and then sign up for our web alerts and just wait for the next RFP announcement to come out. And you can see on the screen here the various websites.
Great. And then just some positive feedback of thank you for this webinar, very informative, and someone else saying this was super helpful. So I'm just going to echo those words and say thank you guys so much for presenting today. This webinar will be available for future viewing on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Chicago BACP. And as we wrap up, I'm just going to have the presenters, if you have any final words of encouragement for our business community.
So this is Castalia. I really want to thank everyone for joining in today. And I want to thank my immediate team with Concessions and Customer Service, as well as our partners Unison and the BACP. Please go ahead and send us any questions that you may think of. And we look forward to your feedback or any questions that you may have. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.